Okay, Mr. Frye, you are a former NBA champion.
Yes.
I want to talk about that in your career in the NBA.
Okay.
You played for 13 years, right?
13 years. Yeah.
Okay, and then for different teams. And then now you're retired from the NBA and basketball and what you've been doing post basketball. So let's
Yeah.
start with your basketball career.
Okay.
How old were you when you started playing? What was it like growing up? Were you really
Um,
competitive? And then kind of how you got into the league.
well, I think, growing up, my parents were very different. My dad was like all basketball, and I was always taller than everybody, but I was never like the most competitive. I was competitive, but not like in that way. I just like to play. I like to be outside. I like to play different things. But then my mom was super artsy. So like I was in a band, I did art, like, plays, all type of things like that. So um
What instrument did you play, by the way?
the baritone, the trumpet, the viola.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
three different instruments. Yeah. So like growing up, I just played to play to like, just have fun and be out there with my friends. And um, I don't think any coach had really connected with me and challenged me to like approach the day like a professional or like I never saw um, how practice made you better because I wasn't practicing the right way, you know. And also, I was growing 2 inches every year. So, yeah. And in Arizona, in Chandler, where I'm from, junior high was 7, 8, 9. And then high school was 10, 11, 12,
Okay.
because it was like a feeder school from 3 junior highs. So, all the freshmen were all freshmen, were like seniors at their junior high would play each other in their own league, which was interesting. Um, so then I went to school, St. Mary's, my sophomore year. My parents made me go to that school because they wanted me to go to a private school. As I was walking out, the JV coach and assistant coach for um, the varsity team said, "Hey, are you trying to come to this school?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." The next thing he told me was to tuck in my shirt. And I was like, I'm getting ready to leave. He was like, well, if you're going to come here, just get used to tucking in your shirt. And we like to handle ourselves a certain way. And, if you want to play basketball, this is, we're really good already. So if you want to play, you're going to have to work out. He was almost challenging me. But I was like, all right, what kind of work? I wasn't afraid of working.
Mhm.
I just had never, you know, met somebody to kind of push my buttons the right way. So I ended up meeting up with two of the freshman guys or the sophomore guys that were starting on varsity already, these two twins. And so I drove 30 minutes to go work out with them for the next 3 months, 4 months, almost every single day, and made varsity, but I was like half varsity, half JV my sophomore year. Still really developing, still really kind of figuring out who I am as a person, as basketball player. And I broke my wrist or my hand, right where that is. I first practice, a guy smacked my arm. So I really didn't even play. I was out pretty much all season except for 4 games my sophomore year. But I was still working out though. So like I was working out, lifting, running, and I don't know what clicked. Something clicked. Maybe it was maturity. Maybe I don't know what it was. But that summer, I did nothing, absolutely nothing but play basketball in tournaments and in the gym and started lifting and doing this. And I got invited to the top 100 kids in the state. It really showed out. And I made that all-star team. So it was the top 10, right? Or top 12 out of the top 100, which was crazy because remember, I never played
Yeah.
varsity, made that, and that made my confidence go crazy.
Oh, sure.
And then then that Coach Greer, really started to challenge me about like what my expectations were, what was expected. And I started to get recruiting letters. And so I started to, as much as I started to have confidence, was as hard as they kind of like put it on me to not let it go.
Is
Junior
that
year, we
something
made,
you wanted
huh?
to do? Is that something you want to? Were you ready? You were like, okay, I want to play in college now. Were you thinking that?
Well, I was getting letters. I didn't know, nobody, my parents never went through that. And my teammates are sort of going through it, but I went from getting one letter from like, New Mexico State, like, oh crap. I didn't even know there was a New Mexico State because I was pretty locked in on what I was supposed to do. And, I was, sheltered. It went from 0 to 100 very quickly because I started getting letters from like Kansas, UCLA, Arizona. And then all of a sudden it was just like, man, what's going on? So fast forward to high school, I ended up signing with U of A my junior year. I knew Richard Jefferson since I was 14 on and off. And I knew a bunch of guys up there. And they just were like, yeah, come here. And Arizona's the place to be. And I went down to Tucson and I was like, and this is it. I saw the crowd, I saw everything. And as soon as I signed, the assistant coach, Jay John, who ended up coaching at Cal, was like, well, you got a lot of work to do, or we're going to redshirt you. Now, that's my junior year of high school. So then they put me through a different program. Boom, boom, boom. End up going to the semifinals our junior year. We ended up winning a championship. My senior year, I was, we didn't make the McDonald's All-American, but I was like Gatorade Player of the Year and some other awards that were pretty crazy. And then
that you have sitting around your house. Just kidding.
I don't know. There may be in a box somewhere. I'm not an award guy like that.
I know you're not.
And I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, but the reason why I say this is because like everything else is a blur to like these crucial 3 years, because it really helped me form who I am as a person, and that just became my habit for everything else. And so as much attention I was getting all the time of being this, who's this guy coming to Arizona that, people are like, oh, he's a talent and he made redshirt. And now I had the attitude of, I'm not redshirting, right? Like, what do I have to do to play? What do I have to do to be better than the guy next to me? And I remember I went to, high school was over April 30th. I went to U of A's campus May 1st. So I had one day with my family, done with high school, and did summer school. So me and another guy who was supposed to be a McDonald's All-American every single day went to class and then worked out. He used to beat me every single day. And so when he would go to sleep, and he had a girlfriend and I didn't, he would go to sleep. I would go back to the gym and either lift some more or work out some more. And they end up not redshirting me. I end up starting half the year. And then obviously the rest of that goes, I didn't start my sophomore year, end up starting the second half, and then junior, senior started and ended up getting drafted 8th in the 2005 draft. But just the work of like repetitiveness of when you wake up, you have to reassess what is best for me and how can I push myself and how can I get just, I tell everybody, you don't need to do a 10 workout every single day. You're going to burn out. Mm-hmm. Give me a 6 every day. A 6 every day is consistent, because some days you're going to have a 10 and some days you're going to have a 2, but at least you're doing the work. Mm-hmm. Right? And 10 and 2 divided by 2 days is a 6. Mm-hmm. So that 6 at the beginning turns into a 10 if you really look at it, because the 6 becomes easier the more you push. Then your normal 6 becomes a 10, what it was at the beginning. But when you have the attitude, I just need to go and like do work and like work on one new thing, right? Work on one new thing, but make sure I solidify myself and what my craft is and what I need to do to be better, and a lot of sacrifices.
Nice to hear you say that, and like the challenge of it, and that you weren't maybe thinking, oh, this was going to be my future, because
oh God, no.
Well, I mean, but there are a lot of kids who think,
yeah,
if I'm going to be a professional athlete, I have to be the best on my team when I'm like 10 till high school. I always have to be varsity. I always have to be getting these letters, and I think by what you're sharing is that you weren't always on varsity or weren't always making those teams, but you were consistent.
Yeah, consistent.
And eventually it was like, with your height and then
and talent, skill, competitiveness.
It was a combination that got you there.
Everyone, especially in today's age, too many people don't run their own race because they're paying attention to the guy next to them. Mm-hmm. Like my thing was, I was just running my own race. And, obviously the people in my life had an influence on that, because they would be like, hey, while you're watching TV, I bet you somebody else, remember that day that guy was pushing you around? I bet you if you just do 10 push-ups every commercial, you could do it. And so I'm like, oh, okay, 10 push-ups every commercial.
Mhm.
But then you don't realize how many commercials. So now all of a sudden I'm doing 120 push-ups a day,
Mhm.
watching TV for an hour,
Right.
right? It's like, so all of a sudden those 100 push-ups build your strength, build this, and then you build your endurance. Like those type of things, you have to almost go, you have to turn a little switch and not be normal.
Right.
And your level of sacrifice of what is extremely important. I think there's this thing on Instagram where this guy goes, when your dream is more important than breathing, then you're going to achieve it. It's just going to happen. But when it's going to happen, you can't just dictate that.
Right.
I've seen so many guys so much better than me throughout my career, yet I'm one of a few people ever to have a championship. I've had a 13, 14-year career in NBA. I live good. And now I have another job after that because I've done the work and studied my craft and made sacrifices. So,
Right.
I think people need to run their own race is my thing.
Right. I think, yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned those stepping stones and those core years because it really did set you up for your future.
Right.
So let's talk about know it's a blur and it's crazy, but for someone who doesn't know what life is like being in the NBA, what is
Right.
the player's perspective? Are you exhausted all the time? What are pros and cons of it?
I would say this, it's monotony. So every day you wake up, you're going to eat the same thing. You're usually going to wake up around the same time. Whenever you get on the bus, you sit in the same spot. Whenever you go to your locker, your shoes are in the same spot because that repetitiveness eliminates the variable of how you're going to play. Because basketball, you're going to play up and down.
Mhm,
Nothing else in your life should be that much of variables.
mhm,
When you have too much of this, your basketball is separate.
mhm.
Um, every day you wake up, you have to assess yourself and then compare yourself to other people who need to put food on their plate. And that is a dark place sometimes where you go, am I good enough? What have I done? And then, but there's also a time where you go, I need to take a step back and enjoy this. So
Mhm.
there's a point of, am I good enough? What do I need to do to, okay, my body needs a day to rest, but you need to be emotionally invested in every day and everything that you do, whether that's your diet, your rest, your mind, your happiness, your home life. Like everything needs to be, you have to be overtly selfish to be able to provide for everyone around you for this situation. Um, you also have to have a sense of swag, right? And so for me, being a skill guy, my swag came from work, right? So if I did the work, I felt great about myself. Now I've tried to take that to the real world. So now that I'm retired, and a couple of years, see during COVID, I wasn't really doing it. I was like, man, I don't feel the same. I've been getting back in the gym, really pushing myself mentally and physically there. And I'm like, man, this is my happy space. Like I've earned this meal. I've earned this quote unquote happiness for how I'm doing and how I'm living. And I think not enough people do that. You wake up and expect things to come to you, and it doesn't work like that at all, especially not in the league. You gotta earn an inch, right? It's just like you think, oh well, I played good, I don't need to work out tomorrow. You played good, you need to work out more so
Yeah.
that you could do that again and then do that again. Because on this side of it, we judge some of the greatest players on earth if they have one bad game. You
Right.
just have to, I mean, it's just part of the job. You played good one year and awful next year, you can get roasted. It's
Right.
just what it is. Part of it is. But when people, sometimes I use the expression, don't let the bag of money weigh you down, right?
Mhm.
You didn't, you even if you did play for the money, have some type of conscience and respect for the craft, and continue to push yourself and make yourself the best you.
What's the routine like? You guys travel and
Right.
having, talk to you guys a little bit about your schedule. I mean, some sports are
Yeah.
they get to sleep in their own bed 6 days a week, then they
Yeah.
travel, then they so you guys aren't like that. You guys are
No.
waking up at odd hours, you're taking naps,
Oh yeah.
fly out right away. So tell people because most people are only viewing you when you're on TV
Right.
and playing. So what is your day to day? 7 o'clock I wake up, go to the gym, things like that. So
Right.
would kind of know your routine.
So first of all, the game is 48 minutes. Okay. So let's say you have 3 games
I
a
mean,
week.
that's nothing on soccer. No, just kidding.
Right. It's nothing. No, I'm true. It's nothing on soccer. But at the end of the day, for us, most guys don't play 48 minutes a game.
Right.
So let's say, I'm awful at math. Let's say you play 30 minutes, 4 days. That's 120 minutes max
Mhm.
that you actually play.
Mhm.
So let's say a normal day practice at 10. You're up at 7. You grab a little coffee, you drive to the gym, you get either a smoothie, a shake, you assess your body. What do I need? Hot tub, cold tub, stretch, work on, do your feet hurt? I mean, people like even down to your nails, because if you have an ingrown toenail, has anybody ever ran on an ingrown, like ran miles on that? It's it's excruciating. So by the time you get all that done, now it's 8:45, 9. You do your lift 30 minutes. Certain guys lift before, certain guys lift after. I like to lift before because then I like to shoot after when I'm tired. You lift before 9:30, 9:40. Then you go to the court, 10 o'clock, 9:40 to 10. You do like skill work. So nothing crazy, something to warm the body up. You go to do film. So film is usually 30 minutes, 10 to 10:30. Then you get on the court, warm up, 10:30, 10:45 to 12, 1. Let's say it's 1 o'clock, 1 to 1:30, you do your individual work. So what do I need to work on? What is this team going to do the next game? What do I need to work on for the playoffs? Like you have to schedule out, who am I playing next week? Who am I playing next month? What is it going to look like? What have teams been doing? So then that, right? So then you're technically been from 9 to, other than a 30-minute break for film, 9 to 1, you've been active.
Mm-hmm.
After you do your individual work, you got to now spend another hour and a half to get your body zero. Your active stretch, your stretching, your table work, your ice tub, your stretch, your massages. What are you eating? Now you're getting home. You're not getting home till 3.
Mm-hmm.
You're exhausted. You sleep from 3:30 to 5. You get up at 5. You say what's up. You play video games for an hour or 2. You eat dinner, right?
Mm-hmm.
You try to be a little bit social, but then all of a sudden now you're watching basketball on TV again, right? Or, depending on where you're at, you may go out to dinner.
Right.
You go to sleep at 9:30, 10. Some people sleep a little later than that. And then you got to repeat that all over again. And then a travel day would be every team does it differently, but to think we travel, the hours traveled are more than the hours actually played is a wild stat. Lowest flight is 2.5 hours. We only play 4 teams in our time zone, which is the California teams. But once you go to Arizona, well, this is before, now is no whatever. But once you go to Arizona, you lose an hour. Every time you go east, you lose more hours. So you're losing 8 hours in a day. That's an 8-hour technical flight. You lose a whole day flying from Portland to Miami, Portland to Orlando, Portland, New Orleans, like dehydration, stress, meals, bus. So it's like gym or bus, gym, bus, hotel, bus, gym, bus, plane, bus, hotel. Like that. It's literally like that.
I mean, that could be your other career as being a bus driver.
Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. Dudes be farting too much on the bus. It's too much.
Oh my God. But I think not everybody realizes that there's so much work that goes on. It's physically draining, it's mentally draining, it's emotionally draining. And so it makes sense that you are bringing in this income and it's providing for people around you, but you do have to be selfish because you've got to take care of yourself so you can.
Right. But that's the thing is like you cannot, other people who don't understand that lifestyle, you can't get off your routine because let's say you stay out one night, it's going to take you 4 or 5 days to come back. Now, in those 4 or 5 days, let's say you play bad on Monday, you feel shitty on Tuesday, you're already recovering from Tuesday and Monday, but mentally you're already in a bad space.
Right.
Wednesday, how do you feel? Thursday, you're like, okay, I'm back. Coach goes, well, I've decided to go here because, we lost these 2 games. So because you chose to not take care of your body and you were, not at your tip top, there's somebody that is taking that sacrifice.
Right.
You listen to some of the greats, they during the summer, they're working out 3 times a day,
That's
5, 5, 11, and 7 p.m.
that's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Amazing. And they do that all summer, all summer. So there's no room to really do anything else.
And it makes sense, but I think that's a nice thing to mention for other
Yeah.
people who don't really know. I
Right.
mean, I didn't know until I met you and other people where I was like, oh, okay, wow, this is really crazy.
Yeah. Oh, this is crazy. Yeah. 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 It's crazy.
And it
It's
depends.
amazing. It's fun. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
right.
Opportunity is short lived, right? You think I'm 38, so 13 years is almost half my 14 years, almost half my life, but like it was worth it. I wish I would have made more sacrifices, but it just catches up to you. And I was just so happened to be at the right place at the right time and be prepared. But if
Right.
you're not prepared, then you can't take advantage of those opportunities.
You played for so long, you had a
Right.
great career. Not all guys do that. Not all guys
Right.
can. They don't really prioritize as
Mhm.
well or aren't capable. So once you retired, you got your championship.
Yeah.
How did you know what was your next step? Because sports, I mean, it's one career, but not everybody can. Some guys
Transfer.
spend all their money and they need
Right. Right.
a
Right.
job, or some guys
Uh,
want to keep going, or you know what I mean? So,
yeah. I think for me, I love basketball. Like I love watching. I love talking about it.
yeah.
And then I was always a media guy. Like like doing this is nothing. Like doing this, I could do this all day. Obviously I do it all day, but for me, being able to talk the game and like explain it has helped me to make the transfer over to like NBA TV, Turner Studios, excuse me, and do shows. Like I have a show handles, I do NBA Game Time. I have a show on Report called Full Bodied, where I'm interviewing people and talking about wine. And then for me, I had an opportunity to start a podcast with Richard and Allie, Road Tripping, which we've been doing now for like 7 years. And it's really helped me to learn how to interview people and to make it less about me and more about how we can connect to the guest and connect to the audience
Mhm.
and show them like our human side. I
Right.
know we're athletes and we're entertainers, but in today's age, we deal with a lot of the same things that everyone else does. We just happen to have more money with it, which
Right.
brings its own issues. So it's a catch 22. And I think each person should have the opportunity to learn about guys that may not have a chance to really put the veil down and just be free of like, we don't want hot takes. We just want you to tell us who you are and how you got there, almost like how I'm talking to you.
Right. Well, and I also think both of you guys are very down to earth. And
What?
I mean, don't tell Richard that.
No,
I think
nobody will tell Richard that. Trust me.
you're down to earth and you are both like goofy and totally always yourself. And
Yeah.
so
Oh, yeah.
I think it's like a perfect thing for you in your transition that this opportunity came along, even while you're playing because it was
Right.
7 years ago.
Right. Wow.
And then you also get to talk about wine. That's another one of your endeavors. So
Yeah.
tell me about that.
So basketball's always been a part of my life since I was like in second grade. But when I retired, I really was like, okay, what is something else that I love wholeheartedly? And not just the juice inside, which is delicious,
Mhm.
but just everything about it, the stories, where it's from, who's making it, the different regions of the world that make it. And so, I've been in Portland 15 years. Wine tasting has been huge for us every summer. I love learning about not only the process of how to get that weird little grape into the bottle, but like the business of it. And I feel like people don't drink the same wine all the time. And not everyone gets an opportunity to go visit places like Walla Walla or Santa Barbara or Napa
Mhm.
or Oregon. So for us as a business, as Chosen Family, we go to these places for you and try to educate you so that you just don't have to go to a grocery store. We think everyone's money is valuable, obviously, right? That sounds weird saying that, but we want you to get exactly what you want and not be tricked because you don't know what you're buying.
Mhm.
Labels are awesome to buy, but when you know what you want, you should get you can get your dollar value with that from great producers. Um, and I think for me, being able to educate people, to be able to share, and wine is all about sharing things and educating people, and uh, really just taking the snootiness out of it. Because wine is fun, dude. Like, bring something. Let's talk. Right? It doesn't need to be $1,000 and this and that. It could be $20 and you had a good time. And then you just tell me, oh, I went to this place and the winemaker was cool and he did this, and sharing and talking. And especially nowadays when things are so divisive, to bring a nice bottle of wine and everyone's like, oh, where's this from? Oh, I've been there and I've been there. Like, the conversation is more give and take. And that really has been very rewarding. We're growing as a business, getting in that business. I think I know there's only 3 Black wine owners in Oregon out of 1,000. 2 of them are NBA guys. One of them is me, who's retired. Another one is CJ McCollum. So I feel like I'm trying to move the culture of wine, and move it in a direction where it's more inclusive, where I'm opening up doors not only for more people of color, but for people our age to really come in and put their touch on it, and really just wine is half about the story and half about the juice. If the story sucks, then the juice isn't gonna touch you as much as it should.
That's interesting. It's
Yeah.
cool that you have had this interest in both of the things. You prepared yourself, you networked while you were still in the league, you were
Yeah.
educating yourself, and now you made the smooth transition into
Right.
this next step of your life. What my last question is,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's your advice for, let's say, 2 ways for a young kid who's maybe like 16 and guy or girl, and they want to be a professional basketball player?
Right.
What advice would you share with them? And then also, what advice would you give to someone who's already in the league of preparing for post?
So getting to the league again, you have to run your own race,
Mhm,
and have a sense of humility when people are trying to coach you and be the best you.
mhm,
Right? Don't have a sense of entitlement because things are uncomfortable for you. I think if you are trusting the people that are giving you advice, take it and allow it to mold you into something special.
mhm,
You don't, it's hard to see who you can be from internally. You can imagine who you are, but the coaches and the people you surround yourself should challenge that mold, right? And to continually build you up. Um, I think I've learned a lot about myself from coaches, whether that's pushing me till I throw up, or that's giving me a compliment because I held the door open for a elderly lady.
mhm.
And so you should be developing as a human as much as you are as a player. And I don't know what that noise was.
That was mine. Sorry. It was
Oh, I was like, oh, I thought it was mine. Um,
I'm important too.
yeah, it's like your first email in the hour. um, and then transitioning from sports. Yes, you should focus on your craft,
Mhm,
but you are allowed to have things that make you happy other than that.
mhm,
Um, and then just be nice to people. Like, I could have what is that word? Like, not, I could have mingled, with more people. What is that word?
network?
Network. There we go. I could have, yeah, mingled. I could have networked with a
Bingo.
thousand more people, but I also had the advice to, like, hey, let me get your card. I really have to focus on what I'm doing right now. I'm very interested in this, but I don't want to do you a disservice. So let's communicate about a time, maybe off season, where I could come talk to you. Let's go to lunch. Let's grab a drink. Let me just understand. And that's it. And I think the communication part and the humility, again, coming from what like their time and my time, right? I just have to communicate. Hey, right now is not the best for me to be going on dinner dates, and really, because you have to be locked into what you're doing.
Right.
But during the summer, it's the best time to meet these people because they want to share things with you. They want to learn your stories and learn about you. And I've done that a lot now that I've been retired, and it's been awesome. People have been more than willing to help me and to be successful, and to help me push my career to different places.
It's great advice for both young and older. I think that's
Mm,
perfect. Be kind, and then network and also being flexible and
Yeah.
all of it. So
Yeah.
I
Just
appreciate
have a little bit of humility in there.
it. All right. Well, thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you. Of course. Yeah.